we'll go ahead and continue with Oregon coach Mark Helfrich. The Ducks are home hosting USC on Saturday. We'll go ahead and take questions for Coach.
To ask Coach a question, press star 1. Your first question comes from the line of Chantel Jennings with ESPN.com.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Chantel.
I know last year, Charles, you had said kind of forced your hand in putting him on the field finally on offense. At what point or when did you realize that he would be able to be this versatile for you guys?
Well, in recruiting, he was just so good at everything, whether it was as a return guy, a tailback, a receiver. He's always been a physical player for his stature, and then obviously last year kind of really making a high impact in special teams, and so he's one of those guys the DB coach is fighting for, the running back coach is fighting for, the receiver coach is fighting for, so it's a great dilemma.
Have you had another player, any other players who sort of have that many different coaches from all over your coaching staff fighting for them to be in their meeting room?
Well, there's always a fight for certain guys, sure, but I think the unique thing with him is just his ability to be smart enough to do it all. To really be he knows the nuances of our offense, of our defense, of our special teams extremely well. As a guy that would be a full-time player at those positions would, and then the hardest thing with him is just managing him really in practice and managing him. As we lead up to how much he does, because if it was up to him, he would take every single rep of every practice, every game, every whatever.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic, thanks.
Sure.
Your next question comes from the line of Gary Klein, the Los Angeles Times.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, Gary.
You guys have gone against Justin Wilcox design defenses, I think, at a couple different schools where he's been at, and just curious from your perspective, how you would characterize how those have been. I mean, have they kind of been the same? Have they evolved over the years? What's your perspective on that?
Sure. Yeah. Now that you bring that up, I guess this will be. Is this the fourth school that we've maybe? I don't even know. Between Tennessee, Boise, Washington, and yeah. I think there are certain things, like anybody. There are certain things that they. They're fundamental to what they do, and then also like anybody that's really good, which they are, they innovate and they play both to their strengths and their skill and their personnel, but then also they're going to try to chase the next best thing, and that creates problems for an offense, and so I think that's that's evident here. They're very good fundamentally. They're incredibly athletic. The measurables are always there for SC, but then they're also highly skilled in knowing the defense and executing the defense.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of Vernon Adams, I know he was a guy that didn't have a lot of big scholarship offers coming out of high school, but was he on your radar back then? I mean, were you guys aware of him coming out of high school? And just didn't have a spot for him, or decided to go another direction, or what, if any, recollection do you have of him coming out of high school?
Right. It was we knew about him, and a couple of coaches on our staff have a very good relationship with his high school coach, and so it was one of those deals where his coach kept saying, hey, this guy's a great one, this guy's a great one, and which every high school coach does. But
right.
And I think if I'm not mistaken, that was probably Marcus's year in recruiting, and so we had a kid that we thought had a chance, and it was just kind of one of those things in recruiting where he wasn't highly recruited, quote unquote, and I guarantee some people are turned off by size, some people, whatever else, his throwing motion, all those
right.
one things that you try to, as people try to ferret that out.
Thanks very much.
Sure.
Your next question comes from the line of Ted Miller, ESPN.com.
Mark, I know you run a pretty level-headed program, but have you noticed a little more pep in the steps, so to speak, in the football building after you beat a top 10 team?
I think the last couple weeks we've, there's been that which probably for 18, 19, 20-year-old guys, which that's the majority of what we're working with, the tangible results and just having a little bit more confidence in how we approach whoever, Cal, Stanford, and then now SC. But yeah, I hope we're walking with confidence, but also knowing what got us there, which is great preparation and playing our tails off. And as I said the other night, as soon as you flip on the SC tape, you perk up and it gets you focused on your preparation in a hurry.
It was interesting that David Shaw was just on here a few minutes ago saying that the reporters don't really understand the highs and lows of a team that goes through and how the most important thing is managing them, and that after a loss you're not actually crying in the locker room for a week, and after a win that you get over it pretty quickly. As part of coaching, how is that process for you in terms of managing high expectations and keeping your team that thought it was going to be a national title contender still focused on the day-to-day activity?
Well, I think that's everything. I think that's who you recruit, who you have on your staff, who you have in your program, that again, you have to try and get them to listen to the right voices. And when things are going great, sometimes that's easier. Sometimes that's harder. Sometimes that becomes a guy looking whatever. There's chatter of NFL talk or chatter of, hey, you're playing in, you're guaranteed to go to this game, or you're guaranteed, all those things that are unrealistic. The same things then happen on the other end of the spectrum is everybody's an idiot, you're the worst team ever, and neither one of those things are, what you should be focused on. You just have to get back in and just get back totally focused on your process, and after the Stanford game, we corrected the stuff we did wrong. We talked about the stuff we did well, and you flip the page. And that is sometimes easier said than done.
Thanks.
Sure.
Your next question comes from the line of Ryan Carty with the Orange County Register.
Hey, Coach. So Larry Scott kind of dismissed the criticism of the 9-game conference schedule. I think it was yesterday. He said it was low on the totem pole in terms of things they're concerned with. Now, do you think, given what's happened this season with the Pac-12 as deep as it is, kind of playing itself out of the playoff race, do you think the conference coaches like yourself will be maybe pushing harder to change that this offseason?
Well, I think there's been many people that have been vocal both internally and externally. It really doesn't matter, and I don't say that in any way that is negative, other than it's the facts. We have a 9-game conference schedule. There's 6 more losses in our loss column than any other conference, and then the addition of the playoff game, or the championship game. There's 1 more, and so that's just the reality, and the TV contracts, the way all that stuff is laid out. There's no point in arguing about it. It's win your games, and that's really the only thing that you can do to combat it. Some people have lightened up their non-conference schedule, with that in mind. Others have not, and so it's just, I think, comes down to the philosophy of each program.
Having gotten through to the playoff last year, can you and then had some of the struggles that you've had at times this year, can you see maybe that the conference is even deeper, even in that course of 1 year?
Oh, I think the conference is really good. I think these last 2 years have been the best it's ever been. I've been part of this conference for a long time, and just the depth of talent across the board. I mean, you look at SC, their threes are unbelievably talented. Their special teams are unbelievably talented. I think that's where the depth really shows is in people's special teams across the conference, and then the coaching, the facilities, all the every program has done something to kind of up their trajectory in some way, and it's a grind.
Mm-hmm. Great, thanks.
Sure.
Any further questions for Coach? All right, that'll do it. Mark, appreciate your time. Good luck this weekend.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Okay, we'll see you.